This is Rob Tebbutt for Boxing Social. Delighted to be joined here today by Nate Vasquez. We're down in Brighton at the Brighton and Hove Boxing Club for the Chris Eubank Jr Media Day. Nate, how are you?
Doing great, great.
Nice to meet you. It's the first time we've done this. I think this is probably one of the first introductions that you've done with a lot of British fight fans. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
A little bit about myself. Former fighter. Used to fight. I fought amateur from '87 to maybe 2000. Turned pro. Had a couple fights and just decided I was tired of the politics, so retired and started working with fighters. Actually, I started working with fighters earlier on, maybe like 98, 99, and then ended it. Just started working with fighters full time.
So that's quite an extensive amateur background. Do you fight any people that we would know about? Any fighters that you've crossed paths with in your amateur background?
Ricardo Williams, Debo Elder. I couldn't tell you. I fought a lot of them. I mean, I was in a lot of eras, you know, because since I had a long amateur career, I grew up from like the ending of the De La Hoyas to Floyd's to I don't know, 98. I think it was 98. Ricardo Williams, and then so I just got tired of the politics and got out of it. So.
What was it? I mean, you say you got tired of the politics, but what was kind of the final straw which led you to give up your kind of dreams of being a professional fighter?
Just signing contract, getting stuck in a contract, and it's just wasn't made out to what it is supposed to be. So, you know, I have a lot more to offer as a trainer than fighter. So.
Did you transition straight away into training? No kind of grace period in between?
Kind of. I've always trained with Jeff Mayweather, so from there, you know, I've always helped him with his fighters, so it's pretty easy, a transition. Me and Jeff are real good friends, we get along, used to live with him. So I've learned a lot through the Mayweathers. I mean, 96, 97, I moved to Vegas, trained with Roger, and then, you know, came back in, I think, 2001, and from then on, I've been with Jeff ever since. So, up until recently, I've been with Jeff. So.
And it was there that you, I mean, among notable other fighters, that you came into contact with Chris Eubank Jr, who you're now working with. Tell me about the first time that you met Chris Eubank Jr.
Correct. Well, I met Chris a long time when I think he first came to the United States when he was a kid. He was at Richard Steele's gym in Top Rank, and I was still there. I was still training as a fighter, but. I really didn't pay attention. He was young then. But recently, he was in Vegas for over the summer, and I was training my fighter Kevin Newman, and they constantly sparred together. And he asked me if I'd like to work with him. And we gave it a shot. Again, I held the mitts, worked with him, and he liked what I did, so he invited me out this camp. So worked out good.
Was his career one that you kept an eye on? I mean, obviously you've known him for a long time, going back to the Top Rank gym. When he was kind of forging his professional career, did you keep an eye on him, kind of watching on his fights?
No, because I was still training too. I really didn't. I think he was amateur fighting still then. Him and Kevin, they were still amateurs then, so I really didn't pay attention to the amateurs. But, you know, he came back and, you know, he has a long pro career now. He's outstanding pro career. So with 2 losses only to 2 champions, which is phenomenal for, you know, coming up.
What was it about Chris that made you want to take him on? I mean, he's somebody that he's kind of infamously self-trained, or somebody who hasn't historically had somebody in his corner giving instructions. What was it about him that kind of enticed you into working with him?
Well, I mean, first of all, when he first came up to me and asked me, I wasn't really surprised, you know, because him and Kevin were working a lot, sparring. But he listened, you know, and that was the main point. You know, a lot of people says he don't listen to you, a lot of fighters or whatever. You know, I seen him in the gym. His father would come over and they'd be in the gym. He'd be working with Floyd Sr. and stuff, but he wouldn't be listening. So I don't know what it is. maybe he just picked me because he liked me, and liked the way I do things. So fighters, usually pick their trainers. Trainers don't pick their fighters. So.
What was your first initial conversation after he came on board with you? Were there specific things that you said, look, you need to work on this first, or was it kind of a progression thing?
Yes, he told me, what do I think about, what do you need to work on? And I told him, well, your footwork is shit and your defense is shit, so that's the first thing you need to work on. And we went from there, and that was the first stuff we worked on. We went back to the basics probably back in maybe June or July. So,
see, listening to that, having followed Chris Eubank Jr.'s career from the start over here, I couldn't imagine him really taking that too well. What was his initial reaction for you telling him that?
He really didn't say anything, because it's probably the first time he had someone really tell him that. But I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm gonna be upfront to you. If you're losing a fight, I'm gonna tell you you're losing the fight. I ain't gonna tell you like that. I might tell you a little bit, but there's stuff you need to work on, and if you don't work on it, then there's no sense of me helping you. If you ain't gonna listen, you have to listen. It's a team sport. But as soon as they get out in the ring, it's up to them to do what we train to do in the whole camp.
So you've been working with him since last summer, around June time. Is that long enough for us to expect to see some changes in the build-up to this fight?
Yes. His last fight, I can't remember who. JJ McDonald. I worked with him. It wasn't for sure he was going to fight. He didn't know who he was going to fight. So we were in the gym, and he wasn't in the gym all the time just because he didn't know if he was going to fight. And we were working on shots, certain shots that he used in that fight. His defense was great. His movement was a lot better. He stayed composed. I've seen a lot of stuff that we worked on in there. So we've been working a lot longer this time. So I expect to see a lot better, Chris.
Have you gone back and revisited his losses to George Groves and Billy Joe Saunders?
I have. And that's the stuff we work on. You just can't. You got to work on everything that he's not really good at, but his positives and stuff. You really don't need to work on his positives because he's strong. He's got the heart. He can get in there, but there's certain things that he needs to work on, and we've been working on that specifically. So you guys will see a different Chris Eubank Jr.
That was just where I was going to come on to, really. We've spoken about kind of the negatives and what you'd like to change from that point of view. From a positive perspective, how good of a talent is Chris Eubank Jr., considering that you've been around the Mayweather gym, you've worked with the likes of Jeff Roger and Floyd Sr. How good of a talent is he, and what does he do well?
He's great talent, especially for the lack of training that he has had. He's had Ronnie Davis since his beginning of his career, which is great. Ronnie's a great guy. But like I said, Ronnie is older. He can only do certain things, and he knows that. He can only do certain things. He got valuable input in the corner, and it'll be there that night. But he needs to just come in there and listen. That's the main thing. Just listen.
Throughout Chris's career, we've seen trainers come and go, the likes of Adam Booth, etc. One of the sticking points in a lot of people's eyes has been his relationship with his father, Chris Eubank Sr. How's your relationship been with him?
With Senior? Senior, it's good. We spoke a couple times. He came down the other day to the gym, watched Junior spar. He sat back. He wasn't in the corner. So, he hasn't been here the whole camp. So it's not a corner, like a relationship, like the team relationship, But he's always in the team. He's his father. He's always going to be here. But he's been only down to camp twice. So he could come down more but like I said, he's got a lot of stuff on his plate.
I believe he's a policeman. One of the things that also Chris is kind of notorious for is staying in the gym year-round, 7 days a week, no days off. In your opinion, in your experience, is that a healthy thing to do? Have you advised him to take more rest days and take more rest periods?
Yes.
Has he done it?
Yeah. He's listening. You can train 7 days a week, but your body don't have time to recuperate. So yeah, he has rest days. I make sure that you can't go in and leave it all in the gym. You can't have 7 days in the gym and just leave it all in the gym and come fight night, you're flat. You need rest. Your body needs to rebuild and recoup.
How do you expect his fight with James DeGale to pan out? I mean, James DeGale is somebody who we're very familiar with on these shores, Olympic gold medalist. His last 2 fights, by his own admission, have not been his best performances against Caleb Truax. How do you see the fight planning out?
I think James is going to be James. He's going to box like he normally does. He's a great boxer, and you can't take that away from James. And it's our job to make that not happen. So.
What does James do well, and what does James, conversely, what are you looking to exploit in this fight? Do you think he's past his best?
Do I think he's past his best? I definitely do. He is a great fighter, though. He's accomplished many things. There's nothing to take away from James. James is a good guy. I don't know him personally, but you know, as a boxer, you got to give respect to every boxer that steps in that ring. As far as what I think he's going to do, I think he's just going to box and move. He's not going to stand there with Chris. I mean, you'd be stupid to sit there and exchange with Chris. But it's our job to get in there and make that not happen.
Okay, well, Nate Vasquez, it's been a pleasure getting to know you and your story. Thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social. I look forward to seeing Chris Eubank Jr. in action next weekend at the O2.
Thank you. Tune in February 23rd, O2.
Nice plug. Cheers.